Good evening, everybody. Chow in the markets with McGowan. Well, we went everywhere over the last couple days. Went to Woodstock, to Jeffersonville, to Jericho, to Waterbury. Got a bunch of really good stuff. You know, the biggest thing about it, it's hot out there. It was hotter in Florida, but it's hot here. For all of you who watched the Fort Lauderdale one, thank you very much. We had a great time. Brian and Scott decimating some avocados. Had a great meal. It was fun doing it down there. But let's get back to the markets. It's exactly what we're talking about. There's so many things you could do, but when it's hot like this, you're wondering, why am I inside? I should be outside grilling. It's like, no, it's too hot. I want to do something cool and inside. You can do an entire meal. It's cool, it's cold, makes you refreshed, and more than anything else, you don't have to get really hot, except when you're doing some of the prep. So let's talk a little bit about it. First part of the meal itself, poached salmon. Poached salmon is so simple to do early and then put it in the fridge. You can do portions for anybody that you want. Starbird fish. Now, this is funny. You say starbird fish, salmon in Jeffersonville? Yes. Captain Tony is starbird. Right now, he is in Alaska. He's getting his catch of king salmon, cod, coho, sockeye, all different types of salmon. He farms it up there, watches it be processed, makes sure it's frozen properly, and then brings them down to the markets here. Now, he's been in Burlington. You can find him online, but also he's in Jeffersonville too. It's a great place to be able to get some great frozen fish. Salmon and such like that with a great fat content is really great to be able to freeze. And this stuff is pristine. So what we did is we took the salmon and we poached it. Now, I'm not a typical poacher. I'm just poaching water. So I had lobster base that I have for Bar Harbor. If you want a lobster base, it's great. Any of your grocery stores will have the Bar Harbor lobster base. Put some chicken stock in there too, because they need a little more volume, and lobster base is a little expensive. So what we did is we sat and poached it, probably around 10 to 11 minutes to make sure that we got there. We left the skin on while we're poaching, because the skin has a ton of flavor, and there's a lot of fat that connects the skin to the actual meat itself. You don't want to lose any of that flavor. And then like when you grill it, when the skin gets crispy and it's great and stuff like that, well, it gets soggy when you do this. So we took it out, we took the skin off, we cooled it down, and we threw it back in the fridge so it'd be cold for a little bit later on. The second thing we did was want to have kind of something dressing with it, something to add to it. You know, these guys, I have to tell you, Mark Miller, Mark Kiffin did a book. This is from 1993 called Coyote's Pantry. This is not your normal cookbook. What you do with this cookbook is they have all the sauces and the rubs and the extra flavorings and the dressings you want to do. They do they call it a pignon dressing or pignon crust, which is basically tortilla chips with mustard and olive oil, and you put it together, you put it on top of chicken or other things. It's the most delicious thing you'll ever have. Brianna, Danielle got hooked on it years ago. Again, I got this book probably about 1995. You can still find it online if you go to Amazon, and it's probably some other places you can find it too. Grab the book. There's so many great little morsels of stuff in here. And again, you're not going to find a recipe for how to cook your main meal. You're going to find the stuff to put on your main meal, whether it be dressings or extra crusts or anything you may have. These guys are amazing. Again, Mark Miller, Mark Kiffin, an amazing book. Go and find it. Put it in your cookbook selection. It's the thinnest cookbook you're going to find with the most stuff in it, and you'll enjoy every one of it. So what we did is this is a chive dressing you did. Now, Danielle and I tried this a couple weeks ago because we wanted to, I forget exactly what we were doing, but there's something we wanted to do something different with. So I looked through the book, and she had brought it up to me saying, hey, I love that book, and I hadn't pulled it out for a while, so I pulled it out, and it had this chive dressing. It's a chive dressing that's got, so many things in it. I'll look on my list to make sure I got it right. It has cherry vinegar, extra virgin olive oil, chives, lemon lime juice, fresh squeeze, salt and pepper. And the one thing it had in it that Danielle was that enjoyed when she had it is a raw egg in there. She's like, oh, this raw egg, and some people might not love raw egg. It's very good to put the raw egg in there. The sherry vinegar balances it off, and it lasts 2 to 3 days in the fridge afterwards. But because she was a little leery about it, I said, well, let's do something different. So what we did, I looked up all the different things you could substitute an egg for, and what would be the best with this would be plain Greek yogurt. It works perfectly. You put a 1/4 cup to 1 egg yolk, you mix it in with it, it emulsifies, it does a really nice job, and because of that, it had a lot of olive oil in it to kind of emulsify the egg. Now we're going to put a little less olive oil in it, but we're going to get it started here. Yeah, I got it all pressed. This is just like Food Network. So cool. So, we have my mixer. Now you guys know I don't have a blender, I have a small place, but I like doing things with my buzzer, which is my Crux buzzer. I love it. It does a lot of really good things. I've got the cup that it works with. The best thing about it is when you do the cup, when you've left over, you just put it back in the fridge from there. It mixes just as well as a good blender does. The blender's probably a little bit stronger, so for bigger things it might be a little bit better. But if you got a small place, you just want to be able to mix every once in a while, this really works. I've got everything in here. The only thing I haven't put in here yet is the olive oil. Because I wanted, without the egg needing the emulsification of the oil, I didn't want to just chuck a bunch of oil in here to start off with. So we'll start off with just doing, you know, gotta make my hand in the right place here. It's a really strong thing. I'm going to just do the chives and everything but the oil. It goes really quickly. It's really easy to be able to blend a ton of different things, even if they're a lot bigger than what I've got in here. And look at the consistency of it, it's really good. What I want to do is I'm going to add like half the oil that they normally tell me to do, and I'll mix it from there. Because I don't need to emulsify the egg. I just want to put the dressing itself together. Kind of push up off the side of the glass because it happens to get this up there every once in a while, as it does in a blender too. I have nothing against blenders, but this is easier when you've got smaller spaces to work with. I'm going to put that off to the side for a second. So I love having the sink here. My great big tasting spoons. I got 6 of these stainless steel spoons on Amazon. The best tasting spoons you've ever had. So you always want to taste something. Even without the egg, the sherry vinegar comes through. The taste of the chive that has a great bite to it, and just all of the other ingredients, just a little bit of salt, a touch of pepper, and the chives are a great, great combination. I think that's a winner. Here, I'm going to do this for a second. I'm going to take it to Danielle and see what she thinks. Hey Danielle,
Oh, Jesus.
what do you think?
Delicious.
She loves it, even though it doesn't have egg this time. It just has a yogurt. It came out really good. We're going to use this in a little bit. Throw it off to the side. And if we find my cover, and there's a cover. Oh, there it is. So that's a chive we're going to use to go along with the poached salmon. The next thing we want to work on, we got a little bit of oil left over, which we're going to eat in a second. New potatoes. So what we did, and again, first of all, the chives came from Redhead Farm in Ferrisburg. Christine, who not only is a farmer, but also is the market manager for Waterbury, had chives on the table and said, that's exactly what I need to do something great with. And she was like, well, a lot of people, there's too many chives. I said, there's never too many chives. But this dressing came out so well. So thanks again, Christine, for doing that. Again, she was in Waterbury. Salmon comes from Jeffersonville, Captain Tony and Starboard. That'll be our first dish when we get done with it. New potatoes are next. Slowly take everything out of the fridge here. Potatoes. I am a sucker for small potatoes. I just am. I love them. They're so cool. And especially if they're really fresh. These new potatoes come from Boneyard Farm in Fletcher. Hannah had them on her table and I had to get them. They're tiny and small. What we did is we poached them earlier so they're cooked. So this is again a cold meal. So what we want to do is have everything cooked ahead of time, ready to go. And that's exactly what we're going to do with the potatoes, the same way. Tons of little small ones. She had some that were a little bit bigger in the bunch, but that's okay. We'll use this for other things. But the tiny small ones are so good. Cooked perfectly. Skins are left on. You have a nice bite to them. They taste so earthy. They don't taste like your regular white potato. There's going to be flavor to it. Not a ton of flavor. But we're going to put more flavor in here. Put those in the back. What do we do next? You can make pesto from a bunch of different things. But the best thing to do is make pesto from something that's really fresh, but just make it on your own. You don't always have to have a food processor. Believe me, I make pesto every week here. Waylon and Danielle have to have their pesto with everything. And Waylon has pesto pasta at like 8 o'clock every morning for breakfast. That's exactly what it does. But you can do it with other things. one thing that's really good to do when it comes to pesto is do it with parsley. And the one thing I was taught, and I can't remember which chef did this, I was watching a food show at one point, and the chef said, hey, you know, what we're going to do is we don't have to have a food processor for everything. We have a mortar pesto. We can make our own pesto. Parsley pesto. Parsley from a great guy called Coleman. Fresh Fruit Farm, they were in Sharon. This stuff, I looked at his parsley, and it's like, this is the best flat leaf parsley I've ever seen. Now remember, flat leaf is the parsley to get. Don't get curly. You can if you want. It's great for garnish. It's not good for anything else. So what we're going to do is we're going to make our own pesto, but we're going to do it in a mortar. Doing something a little bit different. Just doing it on our own. So we'll take the parsley, throw it in here, give it a couple of crushes to break it up a little bit, just to get started. Give it a little cut, obviously, to make it a little easier. So you can do a little bit on there. So I mushed it up a little bit. It's got a little bit left to go. We'll do from there. The next thing we're going to do is put in pine nuts. Pine nuts. Okay, shameless plug. If you want to get the cheapest pine nuts that are really good in your oven, go to Trader Joe's. I know I used to work there, but they're the cheapest ones I get, and they're amazing. Take about a quarter cup of those. I'm going to blend those into. This is a rough cut pesto. This is not your blender perfect pour over the bottom of the plate pesto. It's a really good one. And it's just neat because you're kind of grinding it a little heartier. Next thing we're going to do is take garlic, which of course you need garlic in your pesto. I don't care what kind you want. I'm going to chop it up a little bit again to make it a little easier when we're doing it with the mortar. I was going to say the cat would eat anything on the floor. She used to. She doesn't anymore. She's watching me right now going, why are you bothering me at this time of night? It's my sleep time. It is, but just have to stay awake for a moment or two. Got the garlic in there. Push the garlic down. So you get it nice and blended, but it's not meant to be perfect. It's not meant to be a blender thing. We're trying to just kind of rough cut the ingredients together, get some blending on them. You get some bigger pieces of garlic and bigger pieces of parsley, but they all will meld really nicely together at the end. Now we have some Parmesan here, which you put pesto, but you're going to do that at the end. The other thing that we always do, lemon and lime juice. This is what I do in my pesto. It's my secret ingredient. Do not tell anybody. Don't. If you ever tell anybody, I will not agree that I ever said this. It gives it a really nice peaky taste to it. It gives it that citrus that I think it needs. And Wayland approves of it, so if Wayland approves of it, that's all that matters. Giving that a quick mush in there. I'm going to throw in a little olive oil, not too much of this. With a hand, it's one thing when you buzz it. I think when you have a hand one, you don't want to put too much in there. You want to get some moisture to it, but you don't want to overdo it. These mortars, get the stone ones. I'm not sure if it's a marble or a real marble one or not, but get the stone ones that are really good. Don't get the plastic ones because they'll tend to break quickly. This thing has been great to do all of these kind of preparations. And then I'm going to take a little bit of parsley, Parmesan at the end, and mix it in. Actually, let's take a little more. That's kind of our salt. I usually will throw salt in here. I tend not to when I do my own mush version of it. For a moment. Special spoon now. One thing that's really important when you do anything like this, because it always varies a little bit. The parsley is always a little bit different, the garlic's different, everything's a little bit different with it. But one thing that's really important is you make sure that you have a tasting spoon. We always have a tasting spoon ready. Nice and chunky. It's got a real bite on it, which is okay. That bite gives us a little extra flavor. It goes really nicely. Push some of that parsley off because Parmesan off. We'll use that at the end. Really gives it a great extra kick to it. And that kick will give us a little extra at the end of it. We have our potatoes. We're all ready to go with that. We put our pesto together. Pickled radishes and pickled greens. Radishes from good old Coleman at Fresh Roots Farm in Sharon. Also, the radishes are from him too. Two great products. What I did is I decided to pickle them together because I think it's really cool when you get the coloring of the radishes to go along with the coloring of the green beans. So we've got that flavor to it. And then, want to add some pretty to it? Well, we will in a second. Edible flowers, Boneyard Farm and Fletcher from Hannah. Gorgeous things, you know, they're edible, they're pretty. So I'm not a big garnish fan unless you have something like this. And if you have something like this, you got to put this on your plate. So let's put the plates together. Here we go. So let's put together a good meal. We have our salmon. And all the stuff we need. Put the salmon in the middle of the plate. Really poach it, I say, poach it about 8 or 9 minutes. It depends on the thickness. His coho is a little bit leaner, which is wonderful. It's not quite as fatty as some of the Atlantics you have, but his flavor is just amazing. And that's why we like to make sure that we use that for some of these nice dishes, especially if you're doing it cold. Salmon hot, you can kind of get away with a little bit of flavorings. When it's cold, it's got to be really good salmon. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is really good salmon. Grab our extra spoon. We're going to take that chive dressing, pour it right over the top. So when it's poached, the salmon not get dry, but it can get dry. So we want to make sure we put a good dose of that over the top. Daniel's mouth is watering over the side here. Dinner is almost ready. That's that. That's the first start of what we're going to do. The second thing is the potatoes. We take our potatoes, put them front and back. One got in the pesto, the chive dressing, and we can't do that, so I had to eat it. Potatoes. You have this gorgeous, beautiful, handmade pesto. It's got so much flavor to it. I will tend to just put it on the side, let people dig in with their potatoes. Again, because it's cold, really has a great extra flavor to it. But it's just a tangy, tangy pesto. We want some really beautiful potatoes. And these new potatoes, I get from Hannah at Boneyard Farms and Fletcher, they have such a hardiness to them. Just a great, it's like eating a real, let's say a real potato, eating a real potato. It's got more to it, and that's what I really like about it. The added flavor is really good. So we have that, We're going to have on the side, we're going to put our pickled green beans and our pickled radishes. Everybody gets a little bit of everything. There might be one off there, but I'll get away with it. I'll take the plate with one less radish, just so Danielle can get both radishes. We have a lot more in here too. Cold salmon, the new potatoes with that beautiful handmade pesto where we're just rubbing it together. All the different pickled items that we have from that. Beautiful edible flowers, again from Hannah at Boneyard. It's just great. If you get the chance to do something neat like this, it's fun. Again, you don't have to garnish every plate, but if you go to a farmer's market, you see a farmer with some of these cool things, go get them and use them. That makes them beautiful. That is our main course, the salmon. Goes along with the new potatoes with the parsley pesto. Oh, this is something we forgot. I don't know why I could forget this, but I did. Look at that. It's a beautiful heirloom tomato. Good old Coleman, great guy, was down at Woodstock in the pouring, absolutely torrential pouring rain. I felt so bad for them because they were setting up in conditions that were just, they were horrible. But he told me, I said, I want a really good heirloom. He said, you have to take this. And so what I'm going to do, take his heirloom, split it, put it alongside those little beautiful pickled ones. Again, if it's hot outside, this is the way to eat. And God knows it's hot outside. Heirloom tomatoes, that we get. Again, great guy, Coleman. Fresh Roots Farm is Sharon. What a great meal. But you know, do you need dessert? Yeah, you do. So we thought of something really funky. You know, we're not going to do something regular here. Of course, you know that. I never do anything regular here. So we're going to move that off the side. We're going to pick out a couple plates. Why? Because we have something that's fun. We tried this afternoon. Danielle tried it. Brianna tried it and said, this is really good. And it's like, wow, this is really good. Just checking our time to make sure we're not going too long in the air. Try to keep it within 20 minutes. Great folks for blueberries. Covered Bridge Farm, they were in Underhill. Lisa and Brian, they had these beautiful blueberries, and I'm like, we got to do something with them. And Danielle was going to make ice cream. We got tight on time, as we always do, because we got the grandkids over during the day. It gets so crazy. So we thought, what about doing this? They always do the big schmear. Isn't that what they do on the Food Network? They take the big schmear and they like schmear it like this. I hope I'm doing it right. I think I am. Now you can do this any way you want. If you want to do it without alcohol, you can do coffee time syrup and Greek yogurt. This is coffee time syrup and Kahlua. And we did it, and we said, wow, this is like amazing. And it was, and it is. So if you like something that's got a little kick to it and a little different dessert, Lisa and Brian, this is the way we came out with it. And it tastes amazing. Like, really amazing. The Kahlua and the yogurt goes together, makes it creamy. The coffee and the blueberries have this strange combination that work perfectly together. That's a dessert. That's the way that we're working on it. Blueberries, again, with the great folks, Covered Bridge Farm in Underhill, Lisa and Brian. All the market managers want to thank them really quickly. Woodstock, Kathy Avellino, and Jeffersonville, Sierra Langdale, and Jericho, Elizabeth King, and Waterbury, Krista Cameron. You know, these folks put tons of work in to make these markets work. So make sure you do two things. First of all, in Vermont, we've had a lot of flooding devastation. It means farmers markets have gotten canceled because they can't do it, and farmers have had troubles with their fields. Make sure that when you have a farmer's market open, you go and you spend money for them. They need that. They need that help because they have not been able to have the avenue to sell a lot of their products because of that. So go and do that. Spend money at your farmer's market. Go see them and get some stuff. And do some different stuff. Have fun with it. Enjoy what you're doing because the food is amazing. We thank everybody at all the different farmers markets. From Captain Tony at Starboard, Kristen at Red Hen Farm, it's Coleman at Fresh Roots Farm, Hannah at Boneyard and Fletcher, and the folks that did the blueberries, Covered Bridge Farm in Underhill, Lisa and Brian. We thank you all very much. You guys do a great job. We're glad to put your food on the table. We hope that you're enjoying Chow in the Markets with McGowan. We'll be back again next week with another episode. Ciao, everybody.